comfortable, and I know it's good. It's good. So we'll kind of chat for just a second while we give everybody a chance to jump on, because we have that whole delay, because you're probably not even seeing us pop up yet in the group, Melissa, right? And where you need. Okay, so here, come a little closer. So you're here in Leesburg, right?
Hello.
I know. We'll get cozy. So you're right here in Leesburg, yes?
I am in Leesburg.
Okay, good. Just a few minutes away?
Just in the Crescent Station complex.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So you're very close to
hopping
us.
skip.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you're doing this with me today.
I'm so excited. Thank
This
you.
will be fun. There we go. So hi, Lindsay. Okay, good. So we've got some people who are starting to join us now. So we'll go ahead and get started with our chat today. So I'm Karen Cooper. I'm the founder of Empowering Women in Real Estate, and I'm excited today to be talking to, hey Jan, I'm talking to Robin Myers. And so Robin, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and what you do?
Okay. Well, I'm excited to be with all of you.
Yeah.
So I'm local, as we were just chatting. I live in Leesburg. And so I am an author, and I've taken my book on the road. I'm a speaker now, and I've just come back from Canada, and I'm a life strategist for women.
Okay, great.
So the gist of what I do is I help women, I help women, women to stop settling for less than their worth.
I love that.
That's what I do.
What was it about, this is a very interesting line of work that you have. I'm sure that there was some kind of catalyst that got you to this. What brought you to doing this?
Well, my life story. My story really is that I was a very quiet and shy, introverted child and person. And I really never used my voice. And so I went through my younger years being incredibly shy. I was very close to my mother, but other than that, I didn't speak to people. I pretty much hid,
Yeah.
And so I grew up outside of New York City, and then I went to college for some reason in Ohio. Culture shock there.
Yeah,
But I lost my mother when she was 53 and I was 21.
Oh, wow.
So it just became a very dark, lonely time for me. But what I didn't have, as close as we were kind of the tools to go into that, I guess, young woman to grown-up woman.
Yes. That's a huge transition, that early 20s. Yeah.
It's a huge transition. So all I knew really was what I thought I knew for checking the boxes. I was great at, doing what everyone expected of me, and even her, but I never really knew. So I went from graduate school, where I got a degree in molecular genetics because I thought I was supposed to.
Yeah.
I didn't get into med school. To I'm a great math tutor, by the way.
That's what I was going to say. I bet you must be.
Great math tutor, but I don't do that anymore. And I met my husband, and we moved actually to the DC area, but I just continued to go on. So I went through my life really happy, don't get me wrong,
right?
But this facade of never finding who I was.
I think a lot of us can relate to that. A lot of us feel that, and we talk about that in the group quite a bit.
Do you? Yeah. So my catalyst really was, I have 3 children of my own. My daughter is 21, and then 2 boys, 23 and 26. Okay. They all went to Loudoun County schools. We used to live in Waterford until this past year. Okay. So, but I just turned 53 this summer.
Oh, so that's a big, you were 53, your mom 53.
And my daughter's 21. And it was suddenly like, whoa, hold on a second, because to me it was sort of like the wake-up call.
Yes.
Like if I'm close to that halfway mark, or, I lost my mom. Yeah. What am I really doing with my life for me? You know, my kids were growing up and following their dreams and passions, which is terrific.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Encourage, right? But it's time to take control of what I really want. And I actually started working with teens, and I still do stuff with teens in the area. But as I worked with teens, then the moms kind of wanted some help and came
interesting.
along.
Okay.
So it was time to find me and then help women.
So now you help other women to do the same.
I
love that. I love that. So how we're going to work that into our conversation today is we're going to talk all about mindset and how that impacts your productivity. So you and I have had a couple conversations about that, and it's something, and I wrote about it a little bit this morning, and we talk about it a lot. Your mindset really affects everything that you do. So we have a lot of folks have joined us. If you're joining us live, I do have Melissa as our producer behind the scenes, and so if you have any questions, just type them in the comments, and Melissa will pass them to us, and so we can answer your questions as we go along. So let's talk about mindset and how, we're talking about how mindset equals your productivity. So
It
it
really
completely impacts it. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, especially as women, right? No matter what stage of life that you're at, young woman, old woman, kids, no kids, whatever that is, we as caregivers and nurturers always take care of everybody but ourselves.
Yep.
So we always carry that with us.
Yes.
Which is what I always did. And it's not selfish to say I have to put myself first.
Right.
And so whether you wake up and you didn't sleep well, or you have a sick child, or the dog ran out the door, that starts your day off in a whole different perspective.
Absolutely. We were talking about that. I was just talking about that with Vicky, my business partner, at lunch today, because I've had some challenges with my kids, especially in the morning. And I'm kind of the one who does. I've taught them that mom will pack your lunch, and mom will fix your breakfast, and mom will do this, and mom will do that. And the older ones are 14 and 12, and they're certainly capable of doing some of these things. And I do like, I like to pack their lunch, and there's things that I like to do, but it gets to a point where it's sort of they kind of expect it. And so we've had some really rough mornings in my house lately, and it changes my attitude and my productivity for the entire morning, because by the time we fight it out at home and I get everybody delivered to school, and I get to the office, I am no longer. I mean, Melissa, no,
So walk in like.
Yeah, I come in with not a great look on my face, because I'm just like, and I think we all experience that.
We do. I mean, I did that with my own kids. I mean, it's funny, with my older one, I think I made him do things earlier, and then with my daughter, it was kind of like, okay, I'll keep doing it. Not that I didn't love it, but the same sort of thing. So you come into wherever you're working, your office, for instance, and it's like you need a decompression chamber.
Yes,
just
totally.
to be like, okay, no one talked to me, and now you're like an hour behind. So your whole mind is. You feel like it's shifted, and you've lost something.
And that happens with our clients too. Especially in our business, we deal with issues all the time, and a lot of them are things that we can't affect, we can't impact. We're just managing. We're putting out the fire as we go. But that completely throws us off track too. You get that phone call. We've all had this happen. You get that phone call from that client. You get that email, and it just kind of sets you off for the rest of the day.
It does.
So how do we fix that?
You fix it by really getting into your own head, and it really comes down to self-care. And so we're going to talk about like some easy tools that you guys can start using even today, but it really comes down to kind of putting parameters. So even, for instance, let's take having kids in the morning and that whole thing. I really believe, and I would say start this tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So
I'm going to take notes.
Start with 5 minutes a day, okay, before anybody's up in the house. And preferably you work yourself up to 30 minutes, but if you can do 5 minutes consistently, get that in. Okay. First week it sounds really easy. I know it sounds very easy, everybody. Yeah. It's really a challenge, because first week you're like, I got it. And then the second week you go back to your old habits, because you wake up late, or your kids forget their lunch and they call you and they're like, I'm not buying cafeteria food. Right. I mean, if you have kids and they're in school,
we've all had that experience.
That happen. So, so the idea of the 5 minutes in the morning is really your time to have quiet time and for you to set your intentions for the day. Yes. And really ask yourself, what is the most important thing that you need to happen for you for your day?
And that's what you should be doing in that time.
And that's what you should be doing in that time. As you build up to more time, it's great. And I actually will be able to send out like I have like my 5 top morning strategies, which I'll be happy to share
that'd be
with
awesome.
everybody.
Oh, that'd be great.
But I believe like kind of getting your heart rate up, and it quick exercise, whether it's yoga or meditation or listen to a podcast or put on music that you like, just really time for you. Okay. So then when you get everybody up and it's a little more insane, you've kind of already set your intentions for the day. So even though you go through kind of the little chaos, you can come back to like, I'm okay. Yes. Because I thought about my day. You're not rushing into the office like, oh my God, like I had 12,000 things to do. Yes. And I'm totally I'm flustered
Right.
as to what I was supposed
Right.
to do.
So I know that you're absolutely right about that. I started a couple years ago, and I've written about this a lot of times about my quiet time in the morning. And so I've consistently backed my alarm up earlier and earlier because you get addicted to it. So Melissa does the same thing. So, Melissa's up at like 4 o'clock or something crazy. And, I'm not quite that much. So it's like my alarm goes off at like 5:20, but that is my time. And I call it my quiet time.
Right.
And it really is so helpful. So it does help. I am a huge believer. So if you're not doing the morning quiet time, I highly recommend it. But then what happens, sometimes no matter how much I set my intention in the morning and I feel good about what I've done, I've spent some time for myself. And admittedly, some of that time I spend in the morning, I'm probably not using it as efficiently for what I need. I'm, you doing what I do by habit.
Right.
Versus being intentional, so I definitely could improve that. But as we go throughout the day, if that starts to wane, what are some strategies that we can use to get back on track?
So let's just back up though. So
Yeah.
for that time in the morning,
Yes.
it really has to. That's kind of the trick, that it is only your time.
Yeah.
It's not thinking like I do need to make lunch and stuff like that. So it really has to be
strictly for you.
So tricks then, like you drop everybody off at school and that sort of thing. Have that go-to song that. It sounds silly, I know it does, but have the go-to song that, when someone pulls up on the side of you and you're just singing your heart out. And
it energizes you. Yeah, okay.
Is that empowerment song to you that, it's kind of like your anthem. Go find a song that is your anthem that makes you get ready for the day.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I've got a few different ones, for whatever, depends.
Whatever the mood is.
A comment you have on here.
Okay, what?
The comment you have is to get rid of the attitude with some tunes.
Some tunes. So yeah, somebody commented with the same thing. So absolutely, I think music. Music is good, and it kind of flips a switch, sort of.
It
right?
does. It gives you a reset button. And the other thing that I think everyone should do immediately when this is over is record yourself a personal message on your cell phone.
Oh.
In your voice memos. Start with "I am powerful."
Oh.
And
That's scary.
Or "I've got this," or I like "I am powerful," or "I am worth it." But one or the other. It's your voice, and it could be 3 seconds, and it could be 30 minutes. You can just brain dump. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want it to be. And it's one of those things too, women, that you can't re-record because you don't think you sound good.
Yeah.
It's really you.
Yes.
It's only for you to hear.
Yes.
But it's also that reset button. So when you're driving, and this is a great tool for a lot of things. When you don't want to make those phone calls for sales leads.
Right.
When you don't really know the client you're going to walk into, you're having that difficult conversation, or you're having a conversation over a contract that didn't go so well, or someone, you don't feel treated that well by somebody. Listen to your message, because you're unique and you've got it, and so that's a good reset button.
I like that. So to me, that sounds frightening, because just the thought of saying those things to myself about myself seems kind of hard for some reason. Is it as powerful if you record someone else saying nice things to you, or it really needs to be you? Okay, that's interesting. I got to work on that.
And actually, that brings up a really good point. One, it's very hard to compliment ourselves.
Yes,
right.
That's the idea.
Yeah, it's very hard. So that is the idea. So, as hard as that is, it's still your voice telling yourself that you're okay and you've got it. So that's why you don't have to worry about how you really sound. I really don't like the way my voice sounds.
Yeah, same.
But I'm still talking to you.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like my voice, I still talk to you.
I like it.
Well, thank you. I hope so. But it does have to be your voice.
Okay.
And it kind of brings up the other idea that I really talk to a lot of women about, that they can't be validated. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Validated by anybody else.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Especially their self-worth. Nobody can give you your value and your self-worth and anything by anybody else.
We were talking about that at lunch today too, and I think a lot of us have fallen into this, especially I think when you're young women are very susceptible to it, especially, but we tend to look for that in a partner. So, we tend to look for validation in a partner, and that's the only way that we can find that validation instead of finding it within ourselves. I think that's a common issue.
It's a very common issue. And so let me just give a little heads up on that one, because at some point you're gonna need it from yourself.
Right. Right.
Frankly, I'm 53. I've been married 27 years, and finally I was like, it's not good enough. I'm not expecting it from anybody, and I'm not going to take it from you. I have to give it to myself.
Yes. Yes.
And it actually, interestingly enough, it really wasn't until I did that my whole business shifted.
Interesting.
So, because it really is, it's you, it's your voice, it's how you're presenting yourself. It's you kind of accepting your story and who you are.
So that kind of leads into a great kind of next topic that we were talking about is self-doubt. Because a lot of us, when you were saying your story, a lot of us, the stories that we tell ourselves are not great stories. It's, I'm not going to go, I shouldn't go try to get that $1 million listing because that's not my price range and that's not who I am. And so they're not going to work with me. Or, I've never helped someone buy a farm before, so why would they, of course they're not going to want to work with me. So we tell ourselves these stories that really, holds that self-doubt over us. How can we, let's talk about that for a second.
Self-doubt is, we are really good.
Yeah.
Especially women, we are great at talking ourselves out of things.
Yes.
We really are.
Yeah.
Think of it like this, I always say, start talking to yourself like you would your best friend, because you wouldn't tell your best friend, imagine if your best friend said, I really want to go out and try and get that listing. You're going to encourage that person.
Right, of course, absolutely.
99%, you're probably going to say go for it,
yes.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why would you tell yourself you can't? So we kind of have to start changing that talk to ourselves, because we really don't treat ourselves like our best friend. And honestly, you are your best friend.
Oh.
If we can't, and you really have to think like that. I mean, if you can't be your best friend, well, you really should be your best friend, because you are your number one friend.
Right.
So if you think of it like that, I think it helps shift your mind a little bit about, sorry about that. I think it helps shift your mind a little bit about the self-doubt talk.
Yes.
But we really do. We talk very negatively to ourselves.
We do.
So part of that as well is that why not, go for that listing or what you think might be different.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do with, too, is that, people are attracted to you for your gifts.
Right.
And what
yes,
you
that's
bring
right.
to the table.
That's right.
And we were talking, there's plenty of everything for everyone, abundance of
absolutely
whatever you do, whether it's real estate or, coaching or quotes a strategist, which is still coaching, there's an abundance. So people are going to be attracted to you for certain things because they relate to you.
Yes.
There's a similarity, there's a friendship versus another realtor who might be doing farms for their whole career.
Right.
But they just don't hit it off.
We rejection is a big thing that we deal with a lot in our business. In fact, that's the topic for our June monthly meetup. So coming up next month, we're going to be talking about rejection and competition. And
I don't know that.
yeah, I bet you do. So I hope you come. But rejection is huge, and I think what happens is, especially, we allow that rejection to feed our self-doubt, and then it becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. The self-doubt then, will sometimes affect how we go into our appointments or how we approach our clients, and then that can lead to rejection, and then it just becomes this vicious cycle.
It's a huge cycle, and there's traps of it, right? Because you start with this big circle of self-doubt.
Yes.
And in self-doubt, you have the hesitation of, I can't do it. And then you have the critical self-talk that I shouldn't do it because I'm not good enough. And then everything kind of spirals into it.
Yes.
What we have to do is unwind it. And then come back out and be like, no, I can talk to myself nicely. And I am worth going after what I want to go after. And I don't need to be that critical of myself because these are the gifts. And listen, there's some things that you might not be able to go for.
Of course.
Because it's not your specialty. And that actually is something, I'm just going to put this down because I'm going to spill it. There are some things, that if it's not your specialty and you don't love it, be willing to say that's not my thing, and I don't want to do it,
Right.
and I don't need to compete.
I don't need. Oh, yes, I don't. Yes, because I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for that too. That we feel like we have to compete for everything, and sometimes we don't. And sometimes it's okay to say this is not for me, and this is where I focus.
Right.
And that's really okay. I have a friend who I used to work with that many years ago. She used to sell cars, and I've talked about this a lot. She was saying in the auto industry that there's an ask for every seat. And I think that applies to everything, and it applies to realtors and clients. Like, we had a situation earlier today with a friend who, got rejected, if you will, by someone that she had been working with. I had the same thing happen to me last week with someone that I work with. And I have to say that really, I think probably 95% of the time when that happens, it has nothing to do with us. It's all about that other person. Now,
totally.
Sure, sometimes we can go into an appointment and we probably could have prepared better, or maybe we could have presented our information a little bit differently. And that certainly happens, and so we always have to prepare and do that. But a lot of times it's just because it's just not the right fit, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do.
Very often it really is that it's not the right fit. And something you almost have to be able to just kind of like wipe your hands and say like, it didn't work out, it didn't happen, and get done. My business mentor I work with always says like, just let that bridge, let the bridge burn behind you, and just walk.
And just keep walking.
I mean, if it didn't happen, if you couldn't prepare, then next time to prepare more. And it didn't work out, it didn't work out.
Right.
And very often it has to do with something that's going on with them.
Totally.
And
totally.
not you.
Totally.
And they might not even be able to verbalize that.
Absolutely. And then what happens is I think we carry that rejection or that failure or that feeling into our next client interaction, which then affects everything from there.
Definitely.
So it's so hard. So
that's where you have to kind of hit the reset button.
Okay.
And that's where like even the personal message or the music, like what are your tools, what's in your toolbox to hit that reset button.
I like that.
To change your mindset, like
I like that.
If you are going appointment to appointment, to just drop it, let it go, and take a breather, and say, okay, it's new, it's different, and I got this. No matter how much your nerves are gonna kind of play with you and your head's gonna sort of play with you, you just have to have that moment to reset.
I love what you're saying, and there's so many ways. I love the idea of a toolbox for ways to deal with things. One of the things that works really well for me is I like to know my numbers. So I track things. So when I go on an appointment and I don't get the appointment or I don't win the listing, then it helps me to go back, and because I track, I can look at my list and I can see, okay, well, you know what? I've gone on this many appointments this year, which is huge, and I've won this many of those appointments. So it's okay that I didn't get this one.
Right, and then you know what the normal conversions are.
Right, and then it snaps me right back to reality, and it kind of gets me out of that feeling of, oh, I'm not good, and I'm losing my touch, and why? Of course they don't want to work with me. Like, then it gets you out of that mindset.
Right, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, as a businesswoman, that's great to know.
I love that.
Yeah.
One of the other things that you and I were talking about is we were talking about the mean girls, and we were talking about how, and I don't know why women, I feel like we do this a lot to each other. There's plenty of business to go around, and are we competitors to each other? Sort of in a way. We're kind of in the same business, but there's no need. We were talking about a situation that you had where someone kind of put their thoughts and feelings onto an approach that you had for your business, and I don't understand why people do that. Do you want to share that or talk about that situation a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So what happened to me not that long ago, actually. And this was a friend of 20 plus years, had gone on to Facebook. I actually was, it was a grant that I was going after and challenged on Facebook kind of the direction of my business, and it seemed like my business was unauthentic at that point. And
that was her perception, that's what she was saying.
Perception. Yeah. And actually, like you, that kind of goes to the core.
Absolutely.
I am 100% authentic and 100% honest, and I was like, but this is someone I've known for years, and it hurt. It really stung. But there's this whole Facebook, line going, and I was like, let's take this offline and chat. And it didn't make any sense.
Yes.
And I tried to have a conversation, and it still went incredibly wrong. Even on the phone, it went incredibly wrong. So I let it sit, and then the next day I was like, I'm really bothered, and I reached back out, and it still went even further wrong. But I really just have had to let it go. I still can't understand it.
Right.
That
because
it's
what's
something
the point?
on them.
Right, it's on her, right? Exactly. What's the point? Like, what is happening with her, or in her experience, or what she's dealing with that is causing her to project that on you? And why do we do that to each other? Instead of, men do it a lot. I noticed that men do, maybe not as much. There was an experience recently on Facebook that there was a male agent in a private group who would, kind of chastising, a business practice that other people were doing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why? Like, what is the benefit? What is the value of calling someone out and saying, kind of degrading what someone else is doing? I don't understand why we have to do that to each other. Why not support one another? Maybe someone has a way of doing business or something that they're doing that maybe isn't your style. Your style may not be my style, and that's okay, but that doesn't make your style wrong. Right. And that doesn't mean that I need to be, jumping up and down and waving my hand and saying, don't do it like that. It doesn't make sense to me.
And in that situation, I mean, when you know somebody, you would expect them to pick up the phone.
To be courteous.
To be courteous and actually contact you personally rather than on social media.
Totally, for sure.
But you have to really, and we do it around here. Around here I say, social media is great, so it's around the world. But we do. We play mean.
Yeah.
We play badly in the sandbox sometimes. And,
yes, we do.
Instead of, we're talking about supporting each other and trying to shift that there's more support than not support.
Yes.
But if that happens, I guess my only piece of advice is to realize that it's not you.
Yes.
99.9% is it's not you.
Right,
and that they're having a bad day, a bad streak, something happened, and hopefully if the friendship's strong enough and that person, they'll discuss it with you. Right. Maybe they won't, like me. Right. But you can't do anything about that.
Well, and that's where we need, we're talking about this a little bit, that's where we really need to have our tribe and have our people, because if there's someone in your life who is okay with, picking you apart or addressing the things that you're doing in a negative way, maybe that's just not your person, and maybe they were at one season of your life and maybe they're just not now, and so it's okay to move away.
It's very okay to move away, and like seasons, as you said, that's a great way to put it. Listen, if someone is weighing you down, nobody should weigh you down, right? I mean, we're talking about validation and things like that, so nobody should make you feel badly about yourself. And so if they do, you might want to consider, what is the relationship bringing to the table? Because it should bring something positive, and if it's not, be willing to let it go. If it patches up and you want it back in your life, bring it back in. But sometimes, whether it's family or friends, whatever, you have to be willing to let that go.
You do. Because ultimately what it does is it's going to affect your mindset, which is then going to affect your productivity, which is then going to affect your business, and it's that circle. It totally holds you back. So I think we've covered, so we're just about at our 30-minute mark, which is really our goal, so I like to kind of keep. Did we have any other questions or comments, Melissa, okay, good. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is you have a webinar coming up tomorrow, right?
I do. Today's Wednesday, right?
Today's Wednesday.
Okay. No, I have a webinar on Friday at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I keep saying Eastern. I've been across the country
now,
so
it's okay. 1 o'clock Eastern.
1 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to reach and put on my glasses because I have to read this. If you text to this number, write this number down, area code 314-665-1767, and text the word real estate, 2 words. Okay. It will automatically send you a complimentary seat to my webinar on Friday.
Awesome.
All about, and the title is the cycle of self-doubt and why women. I think it's and why women fail in their business sometimes, something like that. But it's really talking about like the 4 traps of self-doubt, how we get out of self-doubt, and how it holds us back in business.
I love that. So anybody who wants to join in on Robin's webinar on Friday, send a text real estate to 314-665-1767, and I'll post that in the group after. I do see one question that just may have popped up from Karen Mason. How do you disinvite negativity without shutting yourself off from useful feedback that may be negative? That's a great question, Karen. So there is a difference between negative feedback and constructive criticism, and it kind of runs a fine line, right?
Very
and we do want that feedback. So not all feedback is going to be positive, and especially one of the things that I always encourage is when you do have that appointment or you do have that situation where you don't win the listing or the client doesn't want to work with you, you want to find out why. You want to ask why. So how, and sometimes the feedback we get doesn't feel good. So how can we take that in and use it to help ourselves moving forward without letting it really affect our self-worth and our self-doubt?
Well, usually in that situation, you're not going to be able to ask if it's, just the feedback. You're not going to be able to ask for that buffer. But so you're going to have to be willing to take the feedback and say thank you for it. Thank you for your feedback. Whatever what your relationship is, you can say, either I think that's a little critical, but you just have to then be able to separate it in yourself and realize that this is what you can control, and this is what you can't control.
Yes.
And that's the other thing, especially in your business. There's only certain things you can control.
Yes.
So that's the stuff you can change. If it was someone was critical because of, say, your numbers, or you didn't have the proper documentation, that's something you could say, oh, thank you very much, I'll know for next time.
Because that is something that you can control. But if it's something that has to do with your personality or just your way of handling things, that's maybe something that you can't control because that's you. And so maybe the feedback for that, for you to know, is, okay, this is just not my person.
Exactly.
This is just not my person to work with, and that's okay.
So whatever the feedback you actually do get back, that sounded funny, but the feedback that you do get back, be able to separate it, like take it in, say thank you for that, and then just sit in it for a moment. I do something called 5-second rule.
Mel Robbins. Yeah, so we talked about, I love that book.
Yeah, so that's a great reset button as well. So before you want to actually respond to someone, or you need to, whether it's an email or a person or just walking into a situation, seriously, I think I simplified it a little bit. Just count back 5 seconds, but do it like 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. To just clear your mind. It's like, don't respond to a text right away and don't email it back right away, because sometimes our emotions get into it.
Yes.
So as far as, 5-second rule is a great reset button as well. But take your feedback, say thank you, and then you be able to separate it. And of course that comes with building your mindset and building your strength in yourself. Self-care is huge. And I'll just say this, is that, and I think this will be on Friday's webinars as well a little bit, but when you start putting these tools into place, you will not only strengthen who you are and your belief in yourself, but you'll actually show up better for everybody else. You'll show up better for your family. You'll show up better for work. You'll just show up happier and more present, rather than feeling like I'm all over the place, which is so easy for us to do. And it's not a negative thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're women, and it's what we do.
Which will then help, again, it's that cycle, so the more that you focus on helping yourself, having that quiet time in the morning, having that toolbox with the reset buttons, doing those things to help to build your mindset, then that's going to help you to move more confidently throughout your day. Absolutely. And so it's just going to help everything to move better. So Karen, I hope that answered your question. A lot of us deal with that with the feedback, and so I hope that that's helpful. Lena Perales, I saw that you posted the text for the webinar, so thank you for doing that. And so that's really all we had to talk about today. So Robin, tell everybody how they can find you.
So you can find me, actually Navigate and Empower is on Facebook.
Okay.
So you can find me there. And my website is, the easiest one to do is www.navigate-empower.com.
Okay.
And I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram as well, as Navigate and Empower.
Okay, great.
But I'll give you my info too, and honestly, feel feel free to reach out, and I'll give you my top 5 strategies we can post.
Perfect. And Robin is in our group too, so feel free to tag her in a post or
Absolutely.
Or send her a message, so that would work as well. So
Yeah.
thank you guys all for joining us today. I hope that this was a helpful conversation, and I'll post this to the group, so if you're watching it later, and if they want to get that link for the webinar, they can do that up until Friday, right?
Yes.
There's no deadline.
The link will run, I think, up until it starts. It's
Okay,
actually
Friday
a
at
link
1.
that will send you to my Zoom webinar room.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Bye, ladies. Have a great day.